you've got your campaign page set up and your team is ready to fundraise, but where do you start? For many people, asking for money can be a scary or daunting prospect. We're in this mindset that when we ask for money, we're taking something from someone. In fact, we're so set in this way that many of us feel bad asking for anything, time, money, help, even if it's really needed. But is that how you feel when someone asks you? Do you feel robbed for willingly donating to your favorite charity or helping out a friend? Of course not. Helping makes you feel good, even if it's just a small gesture. Giving is a two-way street. You provide someone an opportunity to do something good and feel good about it, and they provide the funding you need. So it's time for a perspective shift. Try to think of yourself as a giver when you're fundraising, rather than a taker. If it sounds ridiculous, here are 2 ways that you can become a giver. 1. Give thanks. Thank your donors profusely. You really cannot thank them enough for their donation, and everyone likes to be recognized for their good deeds. 2. Give information. Donors love to get the inside scoop on the causes they care about, including yours. Regularly share information about your project or event, share photos, and engage them with your story. I know what you're thinking. That's all fine and good, but I don't know if I can ask for money. You can, and I'll tell you how. Focus on the outcome rather than the ask. Focus the message of your emails, phone calls, and social media on what can be accomplished as a result of the fundraising rather than the fundraising itself. We're going to cover some examples of how to do this in a little bit, but just remember that you have the ability to provide something to your donors, thanks and information, and that can be a powerful tool in your fundraising.
Okay, it's time for Marketing 101. Before you can craft the perfect message to make those donations come pouring in, you need to figure out your audience first. Who is it that you're going to be reaching out to? It's important to actually think about this because if you don't have your list ready when you launch it, it will take that much more work to prepare when you could be fundraising instead. You need to start with your audience before you can create your message because your message will be based on who you're talking to, right? I hope you're not going to ask your close friends and your old boss in the same way. So take some time and write out your list. Include family, friends, mentors, and advisors, professors, colleagues, and anyone else who might care about helping you succeed. Next, write down if your group keeps a list of alumni, businesses, or organizations who may align in your cause, and other people who may not have a close personal relationship with you, but may be interested in your project. Then prioritize your list. You always want to reach out to the people who are most likely to donate first in order to gain momentum. These people are your tier 1 folks. The second tier consists of people you know, but maybe not that well or on a very personal level. Finally, tier 3 people are those that may be interested in the cause, but don't know you. Here's an example of the breakdown. Now you're ready to craft your message. Going back to marketing, you want to use multiple channels when conducting your fundraisers. Use email, phone call, social media, and talk to people in person about it. The more ways you find to reach your audience, the more donations you are likely to bring in. However, not all channels are created equal. Despite the rise in Facebook causes and those big viral social campaigns, most pitch funder campaigns will only bring in about 15% of its total donations from social media. The rest is going to come from one-to-one communications, like emails and phone calls. In fact, if you could only use one method of reaching out to your audience, I'd tell you to use email. On average, 52% of all pitch funder donations comes from emails. It may not be your favorite tool, but the people you're reaching out to use it consistently. If you really want to be successful, think about your favorite brands and how they do their digital marketing. You may get an email letting you know about a sale, and if you click on that email, chances are you'll see an ad all over social media for the sale as well. I'm not telling you to pay for ads, but if you use similar tactics and send messages in multiple ways to the same people, you'll be more likely to have a successful campaign.
As we said earlier, about 50% of your donations will likely come from email. So we're going to focus on how to craft an effective email to your potential donors. We're going to go over some email examples along with do's and don'ts. But first, I want to briefly talk about best practices when writing solicitation emails. Number 1, most people have to be asked about 3 times before giving. So take a look at the list you wrote earlier and multiply that by 3. It sounds daunting, but if you schedule your time, it'll only be a couple hours each week of the campaign. And hey, you can even start before the campaign by sending out an email letting your potential donors know what you're going to be up to. So when you send that first solicitation email, they'll already be expecting it. Number 2, personalize your emails. Don't CC or BCC 30+ contacts in your email. Write an individual email to each person. That doesn't mean you can't start from a template, but make sure to update that person's name and customize your phrasing to be more or less formal depending upon the audience. Number 3, keep it brief. No one likes to read a novel of an email, and you're less likely to raise as much if you're making them work hard just to understand what you want. So keep it short and concise and to the point. Finally, spell check your email before you send it out. It may not be totally logical, but lots of grammar or spelling mistakes can make donors wonder whether or not your project is legit. Many phishing scams have these kinds of errors, so people are more wary now. Okay, let's get into a few examples. Take a moment now and read the sample email. Hopefully, as you were reading, you noticed a few issues with it. Let's start first with the subject line, "Can you donate?" There's no context here. A busy person looking at this email subject line along with hundreds of other unread emails is likely to skip right over it. Be more descriptive, but still short in your subject. Second, it's not personalized. This writer clearly doesn't know who she's sending the email to. Always use the person's name in the salutation. In the body, the writer does a good job of explaining what show is and what will happen at the health fair. But they also assume in the first sentence the reader knows about the organization. If you use an acronym, start by spelling out the whole name, or even better, have your first sentence be an introduction to your group rather than later in the paragraph. In the second paragraph, we ask that you consider showing support. There's no link for the reader to go donate. Always include a link in your emails, whether it's hyperlinked or written out. Finally, the last paragraph again seems impersonal. Find a way to thank your potential donor that feels more genuine and natural. Now let's take a look at an upgraded version of this email. We're off to a better start in the subject line already. There's no direct ask for money, and it's very personal and to the point. After addressing the reader by name, the writer lays out a nice introduction to the project and the purpose. There's a little more information, but it's still fairly short. Notice how in this email, the part where the writer asks for a donation is very subtle and personal. She would appreciate your support and is providing not only a place to donate, but also a place to learn more about the cause and the campaign. Thanking the donor at the end is very simple but effective. You can find these emails and other examples in the provided training deck. Last but not least, here are some reminders of do's and don'ts for your emails. Do capture your audience's attention. Use the subject line and first sentence to bring awareness to your project. Do invite them to make a donation. You can do this subtly. Do customize each of your emails and always include a link to your pitch funder page. Don't promise your donors anything of value or even a tax deduction. They will automatically receive a tax receipt with the proper legal language from the ASU Foundation. You don't have to do anything with that. Don't make the email too long. Between 7 to 10 sentences is about perfect. And that's it. You're ready to start crafting beautiful solicitation emails. So now that you've got the elements of a good email and you know you have to send multiple emails to your network, how do you decide when to send them? How do you keep the content fresh? Having a solicitation calendar works really well to help keep you on track. Every successful marketer keeps a detailed marketing calendar, and this is similar. You might want to send emails at strategic times in your campaign, such as before launch, the day of launch, after an event or significant portion of your fund is raised, and to thank donors. It can be easy to get lost, especially when you add social media into the mix. Here's what your solicitation calendar might look like. I recommend that your leadership team puts together a calendar for the entire group to use, so everyone is held to the same standards and it provides an easy way to keep members accountable for their workload. So in this example, the group is launching their fundraiser on the 1st of the month. A couple days earlier, they have a pre-launch email with corresponding social media going out. You can choose whether or not to do a pre-launch email, but it's recommended if you have time. However, it is critical to hit the ground running on day 1 of your campaign. You want to blast out those emails and flood your social media feeds. If you want to be successful, you should be pushing your campaign hard in the first 3 to 4 days to raise at least 30% of your goal. That sounds high, but it'll help you get momentum for donors later on in the campaign. That first 30% is likely to come from your Tier 1 network, your close family and friends, the people most likely to give without much asking. After that, the emails and social media can become more spread out. You don't want to wear out your potential donors by spamming them every single day, but you do want to pick up the speed again towards the end of the campaign and make a big push to the finish line. This is just an example of a solicitation calendar, so don't feel obligated to follow it to a T, but use it as a guide to schedule your outreach. Keep in mind events or holidays that might conflict with your group being able to solicit during certain days, and schedule that into your calendar as well. Remember that Updates tab you have on your Pitch Funder page? That's a very important function you'll be using throughout the campaign as well. But let me first give you a little insight into philanthropy psychology. Everyone gives for different reasons. Some people give because of a feeling of pride or joy that comes from giving, or out of obligation. They may give out of tradition or because they hope to see a particular outcome achieved. There are so many reasons people give. What doesn't differ is their desire to learn how their money was used. When you go to the grocery store, you know exactly down to the penny how much was spent on which items. When it comes to charitable giving though, it's rarely that straightforward. At most nonprofits, donors get a thank you card or email for their gift and nothing more. They don't get to learn how their hard-earned money was used or why it was so important for them to give. But people crave that information. They want to know how their donation is being used and what the impact is. And when they get that, they're so pleasantly surprised they're more likely to give again, either right away or down the road for the next campaign. They feel a sense of ownership and understanding of their cause and become more loyal to it. That's what the updates are for, to keep your donors informed about your group, your project, and even your fundraising progress. It's recommended you send out at least 2 to 3 updates for your campaign, but you can definitely do more. Here's what happens. Say you want to share an update that you're 50% of the way to your fundraising goal. On the back end of your page, go to Updates, Project Updates, and click Create New Update. Come up with a creative or motivating title for your update, then write a few sentences at minimum about your success with the campaign thus far and how excited you are to reach your goal and accomplish the plans laid out on your page. You can also add an image or a video to accompany your message. Once you click Submit, your message won't yet be sent, but it'll be saved and ready to go. You can go back and edit it at any time before it goes live. When you're ready to publish it, simply click Publish. However, you can also have the update sent as an email to all of your current donors by checking the Emails to Donors box as well. This is recommended. The training deck provided with this video has some great examples of how groups have used updates in the past. Updates are also useful for sharing the success of your project after it's complete or the result of a conference or competition. You can also use updates during your project to keep your emails from getting stale. If you're well into your campaign and can't bring yourself to say the same thing in yet another email, look to your updates for help. Check out this example, following on the email examples from earlier. The email is brief, doesn't really have an ask at all, but still directs people to your Pitch Funder page. And importantly, it provides information that the potential donor didn't have before. And that's your Crowdfunding 101 lesson. Please review the training deck as it has more examples and important information, as well as any other provided materials. If you have questions or want your Pitch Funder assistant to review an email template or solicitation calendar, send them an email and they will be happy to assist you. Now that you're done with training, make sure to get in touch with your Pitch Funder assistant to ensure everything is ready on your campaign page and confirm a start and end date for your project. Good luck!